Yeah, so as I reflect, 35 years, when I say it, it seems like a really long time. Sometimes it feels quite a bit longer. And other times it feels like I just stepped onto the campus yesterday. It's just kind of the man in the mirror has changed a little bit. But other than that, what's kept me here are really the bonds with the adults on campus. I look at the group, the core group, who I bonded with the closest, and they're my best friends in the world. And so in a way, what's brought me back is the challenge to be as close to as good as they are as I can be. A degree in secondary education from what is now Western Oregon University. But my student teaching situation for me, I didn't like it. And so here I'd spent 5 years getting a degree and I didn't want to do that. So I joined the Army. I had originally joined, I wanted to fly attack helicopters, but then they were looking through my files and they saw I spoke German and that I had some pretty high test scores. So they transitioned me into military intelligence. So I worked in the intelligence field for the United States Army until all through the Cold War 80s and mostly in Europe. And when I got out, I thought that's the path. I'm going to work for one of those alphabets back east, those three-letter institutions. And so I went to University of Oregon to get a master's degree and ended up not only doing that, but helping teach some classes, but living on a graduate pay. I just kind of got tired of that lifestyle, and I think a few people out there are aware that Tim Massey and I were college roommates. We've known each other since we were basically the age of the seniors now. I asked him just off the cuff once, I said, are they looking for any coaches or teachers at that school where you teach? I didn't know much about Jesuit at all. And he said, because his wife was just about ready to have their first baby. And he said, yeah, I'm not going to coach football this year. And so I came up and I talked to Ken Potter, and we had a fantastic conversation, and he said he'd hire me, and Tim was the head baseball coach at the time and said he'd hire me as an assistant baseball coach. Dick Gedros and Jim Perkin walked out and caught me at practice, and they literally asked me if I could teach English. I didn't have that degree. And okay, I'm sensing a job here. And I said, well, I've taught English as a foreign language overseas. And they huddled together and they go, what about speech? Now I really kind of see where they're going, oh yeah, speech, of course I can teach speech, right? Who can't? And so I get hired, and the head of the English department at the time was the legendary Dick Hazel, who became one of my best friends ever. And I was in the night locker room, the men's locker room, and I was around the corner, and I heard this voice. I had not met Dick yet, and I heard this voice kind of getting into Ken a little bit, like, what, you guys hired a teacher without even talking to me, and this, that. And Ken said, well, he's going to be okay, and they had this brief little interchange, and I'm standing there the whole time hearing this, and I walk around the corner of that little wall we have down there. I said, you must be talking about me, and I am Jerry Hahn, and I'm pleased to be here. It was so fun. Here I am, a grown man, and Dick literally said, you're going to meet me up in my room in 10 minutes. And he sat me down in a desk like I was a school kid and plonked some books on the desk. You will teach this book, you will do this, and you're part of our department now. And I go, I'm fine with this. I don't know what he expected. But so I told him that months later, and he denied it all. But in terms of teaching, one piece of advice I would give is, take advantage of any opportunities you get. I was fortunate in 2006, selected by the Fulbright Commission as a Fulbright exchange teacher, a Fulbright scholar, and a complete honor. I was teaching at this school, and it was somewhat funny because they said to get the assignment, you did not need to speak German to get it, but I do, or at least enough to get by. And when I got there, I'm talking to the principal, and I asked him, what am I going to be teaching? And he's, of course, saying, you're going to be teaching English, and this class and this class. And he goes, and you're also going to be teaching a class called the American Sporting Arts. And I looked at him and I asked, I go, what? He goes, well, we told students when they forecasted last spring that we were going to have an American coach here for a year. And so we offered this class, and there was enough for 2 sections. So you're going to be, and I said, well, I'm not a PE teacher. He goes, well, you're a coach. I said, well, in the United States, those aren't the same thing. He goes, oh, it'll work out. It'll work out. But I think adaptation is a skill every teacher needs to learn. When I started, we didn't have computers. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have, I laugh about the discussion about AI these days, and I go, okay, I remember when I had to look things up in books, and then Google came along, and now it's AI. I just ask my machine to do something if I want. You have to advance with the time. I tell my students, because I teach all seniors, that many of them will work in an occupation that does not exist right now. And they kind of look at me and go, oh. Well, when I was a senior in high school, nobody was going into computer programming because nobody knew about it. Other jobs in the service industries didn't exist. And so adaptation is a skill. Yeah, my journey in athletics really was born when I was very, very little. I remember thinking as maybe an 8, 9, 10-year-old, how am I going to balance being a professional football player with being a professional basketball player and a professional baseball player? I grew up playing Little League and flag football and all those things. And so athletics was a huge part of my life when I was in school. And when I got here, literally, it was the first thing I got hired to do. So in my career here, I've coached 30 years of football. So 15 of those years were at the varsity level, 14 as the head JV coach, and 1 year on the freshman staff. In terms of basketball, when Jesuit made the brilliant decision to hire Gene Potter, he, like I mentioned, he asked me to be his freshman A coach, and I coached 30 seasons at the freshman A level, and it was, for me, a great fit. I never had any aspirations of moving up or anywhere in there. Tim Massey had hired me to be his JV baseball coach, and I did that my first 5 years, and then I was actually the interim head coach, my 1 season as a head coach the next year in baseball. And I was fortunate. We made the playoffs for only the second time in school history. Tim had guided them to our first playoff appearance ever. Our athletic program has been successful, certainly. But I think at the core was getting the right people. And getting, and Father Kevin Connell said it was hire for mission, right? And not just finding people who knew the game, but finding people who fit the culture at Jesuit, and making, like I said, that an extension of the classroom was critical in the success that we've had. And also finding young student athletes who really bought in to what we were trying to do here. We can never get to the point where we take this for granted. We cannot, we have some assembly sometimes, and I want to stand there and say, you are attending a school that has had some success. Don't just think, oh, state championship, okay. No, these things are amazing, and we've had, you look at the success of our drama program, our robotics, our ethics bowl, our mock trial, right? And these people who are leading these programs are just phenomenal at reaching our clientele. I remember in basketball, distinctly in our first couple of years, we weren't very competitive yet, but they got the right person, and we were sitting. Gene, Steve Rolfe, and I took the day off. We were given the day off, and we went to the state championship that was in the Memorial Coliseum. And I was sitting a row behind him, kind of just eavesdropping on these two brilliant minds. And I can't remember which one said it, but I think it was Gene said, I wonder if we'll ever have what it takes to get here, to be one of these teams. And in 1996, we made the playoffs for the first time in basketball in that era. But we were the first team in, first team out, right? It was double elimination. We played the first game of the tournament, and because we lost that game, we had to play the first game of the losers bracket, and we were out of the tournament before 8 teams had even played their first game, but we had made it. 3 years later, we were state champions, and now 5 times more. Coaching is an extension of the classroom, and it's just a way to get to know the kids in a different level. And you don't have to be, if you're coaching, you can learn from the other coaches, which I have. I've stood on the shoulders of giants and looked down and gotten their help. So I would, just show your interest, even if it's as a volunteer, and be out there and help them and be another mentor and voice. On a professional level, it's been who I am for almost 3.5 decades. But on a personal level, it's the connections I have here, they'll never go away. And I think over time with the names that we've lost, and I still think about them on a regular or daily basis. We're sometimes at our best when things are tough. For those who don't know, Herm Schattenberg, he died on an encounter, on an all-girls encounter while he was dancing with juniors. And being such a good colleague and personal friend, that hit me hard. And it hit many of us hard. I'm not trying to focus on me, but the ability for us as an institution to come together after that experience really made me feel like I was in the right place. And then on a personal level, I had a medical issue it's been just over a year, having to have open heart surgery. Absolutely terrifying when I was told that was going to happen, and I needed my people around me to help me for a few months as I recovered. And who were they? They were my colleagues at Jesuit. They were there for me, helping me do little things like put on these compression socks or going shopping for me. And so on a professional level, it's been who I am for almost 3.5 decades. But on a personal level, it's the connections I have here, they'll never go away. And I think over time with the names that we've lost, and I still think about them on a regular or daily basis, and then the people that I'm here with today, and the new friends I've made who have gotten hired along the way, that have come in and stepped into those, what I think are very big shoes to fill, are going to be critical, because we've got a core of teachers and coaches and educators that, we're kind of getting toward the end, but we've also got these people coming up that are going to be able to step in, and when Jerry Hahn's gone, Jesuit's going to go on, I have no ideas of grandeur, right? And it's going to be okay.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. I hope some of that was worthwhile.
It's awesome. Thank you so much.
So just those first few days, I just kept my mouth shut. I just